We're tardier than a Sour Patch Kid, but we showed up. What's good, homie?
Man, I'm good, man. What's going on? How you feeling, bro?
Bro, better than you. You're tired, my friend.
Another day, another dollar, man. You know that relentless pursuit of that bag. You already know what time it is.
Gotta get that paper, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what's good, bro? Before we get into everything, what were your thoughts on that Thursday night game? And I know we talked privately about it. Joe Burrow.
Yeah, man. Yeah, bro. I must admit, Burrow looks as advertised. I saw. I mean, he was poised. Man, he looked like he belonged. The game wasn't too fast for him. You know, I saw him. The main thing that stuck out to me was the fact that it appeared that he had like total command of that entire offense, and that is rare. I don't care whether you're, Brady's of the world, Tom, Peyton Manning's of the world, etc., Dan Marino's of the world. That's rare to see from a rookie in his second game. And I mean, he just looked like he had total command of that offense, and the fact that they trusted him to put the ball up 61 times, bro, that tells you everything about this kid, where he is in terms of his mental development. And
he didn't turn it over the 61
didn't
times.
Turn it over.
That was the most impressive thing to me out of that.
Absolutely. And the fact that they would entrust a rookie in his second game, with that kind of responsibility. He was as advertised, and you can see why if those reports, were accurate about the Dolphins willing to sell the farm for him. You see why. But yeah, man, I was thoroughly impressed with Joe Burrow. He looked a lot more impressive. I'd say that he was the most impressive quarterback in that game last night. So
yeah, and here's the thing. Let's be honest. If guys could catch the football a little bit more and didn't make bonehead plays, he could very well have them at 2-0, right? Because AJ Green had that offensive pass interference at the end of game one, and then they missed the field goal, right? Where they could have just had the touchdown, won the game. Had big drops yesterday. T. Higgins didn't really look all that particularly well. But, there were big plays he made, like that poise to show when they were down in the fourth on 4th and 5, and he picks up 11. You know what I mean? Like, he's not throwing in front of the sticks. He knows where the sticks are, and he's throwing it beyond him. And another thing is when we highlighted him and when we always talked about him, whether this platform or the other platform we originally started out on, we always, because I used to, let's be honest, right? You can go back and people can find the receipts. I was the one telling people about, Joe Burrow on that platform, right? And then you dived into the film and you're like, yo, this kid's legit. And the one thing you noticed and the one thing that I was preaching is, and we saw it on display, and it's that moxie, that moxie in the pocket, that pocket presence, that awareness he has. It's so shifty, man. For a guy his size, he's such a good athlete in terms of identifying when the pocket's collapsing, where it's collapsing from, and basically where the hole or where the gap is forming that he can hit and make something happen. He's, for a guy his size, he moves like a guy that's like 6 foot, 5'11". Yeah, you know what I mean? Definitely. So, definitely. The thing I like though is like, the only thing I didn't like, and we were talking about this privately, was because of poor offensive line play, he's developing that happy feet, as you put it, and that's a bad habit. And I really hope they shore up that offensive line. So because it's almost like some plays, not all, but some plays were like, as soon as he even felt the slightest pressure, it was like, okay, I got to make something happen. In terms of, okay, ride it out, that block, that block may be one, right? So, other than that, but that's just because I don't think he has trust in his offensive line fully, entirely, and they would blame him, right? He was on his back more times yesterday than he was all year at LSU last year, right?
Yeah, exactly. he took a beating last week as well against the Chargers. So that's going to come with time.
And it's only going to get worse against Pittsburgh and Baltimore.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, but at the end of the day, he did look very good. He looked as advertised last night, and I'm happy with our guy. Don't get me wrong. Before, I want to be clear. I'm happy that we were able to secure Tua, but you can see why there was a high level of intrigue from the Dolphins' perspective on the talent of Joe Burrow. So
I'm just going to say this.
He looked very good, man.
If my QB big board ends up being right, even in the top 2, which I think it will be, this only makes me – it doesn't make me eager to see Tua. It only makes me excited, and this is why, and we'll talk about this for a sec as we segue into the Dolphin stuff. Guys, the thing that excites me is when you hear Chan Gailey talking earlier this week about Tua basically instituting himself in that game in terms of what he saw pre-snap, what he saw saying what he would do and what he saw post-snap, et cetera, et cetera. He was attached to Brian Flores' hip with that iPad. When Fitz was on the sideline, he was attached to Fitz with that iPad. The one thing that I can say is Tua is a student of the game. And that's something we heard all the way back to Alabama. It was something that people tried to mock me for what Trent Dilfer said. And hey, guys, to all of you that mocked me for what Trent Dilfer said, I hope y'all watched that Tua documentary and you saw that part where Trent Dilfer ripped Tua apart at the Elite 11 Originals. Tua's dad hit up Trent and said, hey, give me a list of things we need to work on to be better. And then Trent said when he showed up, not only did he work on them, he had gone from some of the worst, one of the most erratic overnight in some of those categories to one of the best he had seen because he's a student, man. That's why when we were joking around, if y'all were around for that stream where we showed the house to his new house, if y'all saw that setup, that was we made the joke because you saw the TV hanging up there, you saw the binder, you saw the desk, and we're like, oh, there's Tua's film room. You know what I mean? So that's that. I'm excited. I'm eager in a sense, but I know Tua's time will come. I trust his coaching staff enough. They'll know when it's ready. I said all season long, all off season, I said Fitzpatrick's leash is 2 to 4 games. I'm sticking to that. But let me pose you with this, EM, before we get into this Buffalo Bills stuff. Hypothetically, if Ryan Fitzpatrick throws 3 interceptions, and again, let's say instead of 2, all 3 of them aren't on him. Let's say it's a miscommunication on the receiver's part. Let's say it's another defensive pass interference on another one. And let's say the third one is just, again, runs the wrong route. Boom, over. All right?
Well,
and you got Thursday night, Jacksonville. All right? And this is me just posing a question. And I'll bring what we talked about privately to the front. And you got Jacksonville, who is by far, especially in the secondary, the weakest defense in our first 7 games. All right?
I'll say this. C.J. Anderson looked good last Sunday. Just saying.
Yeah, he did look good. He was one of the highest
fantastic.
He's one of the highest graded rookies by PFF.
Yeah, I think he's one of the highest rated corners, period. He looked good. He looked the part, man. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead, continue.
But he knows Tre'Davious White, my friend. So
I agree 100%.
So, and you get what people would dub a Fitz-tragic performance just by looking at the numbers without looking at the context of the interceptions. Are you pulling that hook out, bro? Are you coming on a short week, but clearly against the weakest defense we're going to face out of the 7-week period? Because here's my thing. If you're going to pull the hook, that Jacksonville is the game to put, because I don't want him starting off against Seattle. I don't want him starting off against San Fran. That way, if he starts off against Jacksonville, like I told you privately, if you start him off against Jacksonville, and then he's got Seattle and San Francisco, it basically goes from average, good to great. It's that slow build. It's not right away. Let's put him in against a great defense, and he just gets blown up, and his confidence right out the door. It's just, because I personally think, like I said, Week 10 against the Jets, that's your best bet. But if we're gonna have to go early, because whether it's another Fitz tragic or whether we're on to something with Fitz looking like he was pushing the ball a little bit more in his upper body.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Because like I said to you, and this is the best, guys, I've now watched the game like EM 3 times, and this is basically what I told EM. To me, it looked like a quarterback when they're talking from the waist up with Fitz. At times, not every throw, but at times it looked like a guy who was throwing off his front foot with his back foot off the turf. That way he was just forcing it. And, whether it's we get a Fitz tragic or whether it's a guy who we can't push it beyond the intermediate level going forward, Week 3 and beyond, what do you do on a 5-day turnover against Jacksonville?
Well, first off, I don't think we didn't see Fitz tragic last week, as a lot of people are out here, trying to push that narrative about him. But the fact of the matter is 3 turnovers did occur, and whether it's fair or unfair, turnovers get assigned, interceptions get assigned to the quarterback. And if you hear, I listened to Brian Flores, his Zoom session after the game, and he was adamant. I don't think he said that Fitz played well in spurts. He said at the end of the day, we can't have turnovers, 3 of them, let alone 3 of them. Yeah. So whether interceptions get assigned to the quarterback, whether it's fair, unfair, whether it's his fault or not his fault, whatever, they get assigned to the quarterback, and you just can't have that. So in terms of Fitz's physical ability, I'm with you. I'm in agreement. After I went back and watched that game, for the 3rd time, I saw at times it was like he was struggling to to push the ball down the field. And at the beginning of the season, I was all about, I thought we could see an improved version of what Fitz had established in the second half of the season last year with improvement around him. But I didn't, if he's having issues physically, okay, now we're talking about something totally different. Because if his arm is quote unquote dying, and he can't, he's having problems generating velocity on the football. Well, that changes that totally changes everything. So in terms of physically, if we're at that point with Fitz, well, Tua, you have no other. If the objective is to win this year, if we are in win now mode, you have no other alternative but to go to Tua. And if that is accurate, okay, if we know it, Brian Flores has to know it, and that might be why you see in the consistent reports about Tua his improvement mentally, physically, et cetera, et cetera. They might be kind of, slowly transitioning to him a lot sooner than what we initially anticipated. But do I make that move? Yeah. If it's a physical issue, absolutely. And especially if the physical issue is.
Can I ask you this?
Go ahead.
We also, me and you, we noticed the hesitation in his game. That's why he ended up taking that sack that got accredited to him, right? Whether it was hesitation when he had time at making the right read, or whether it was hesitation of he would step up, but then he wouldn't fully commit to running or scrambling out of the pocket, right?
Yeah.
I mean, here's the other thing, EM. Tua is going to commit. Tua makes that decision, he's gone. That's his game, right? Or he's climbing that pocket, doesn't feel it, he's gone, right? Do you think that's another thing in terms of what they were seeing potentially with him pushing the ball more than getting velocity and zip behind it? Because you noticed it in his motion and release. I'm telling people, if you go rewatch it, You'll notice it. But could you believe that? Do you think that hesitation that we noticed? I mean, if me and you are seeing it, they had to have seen it. Do you think that's another thing that could be factoring in?
It could be. I mean, it's definitely a possibility, bro.
Because you're missing 5, 6, 7, 8-yard chunk gainage, right?
Yeah, I agree. And see, if Fitz, this is what I'm critical on Fitz on. You know, we talked about this privately. If Fitz is having, only he knows 100% whether or not he's having arm issues.
Yeah.
But that's why I thought where, like you just mentioned, the hesitation in him.
And Omar, me and you talked about it. Guys, if you remember our training camp, if you remember our training camp, we brought up how Omar was mentioning he was seeing dead arm on certain days at camp, and then other days it was basically he was ripping it.
Right, he looked fine. But where I was critical at Fitz Sunday was that, okay, if you're having arm issues, you're having arm fatigue, man, he should have relied on his legs more. And that's where, like you said, the hesitation. I don't know why he was really hesitant to make plays with his legs. You know what I mean? To lean on his improvisation more. So, yeah, man, if he's having issues physically, and the objective is to win this year, there's no way in the world you wait and prolong this, and no matter if we're playing San Francisco next week, because I'm not a proponent of, well, I don't want to throw him out to this team or that. No. We're professionals here.
But I get that argument. But when you've got the chance to kind of ease him into it with a little bit of an easier defense to face,
I agree.
And staring you in the face, take that, bro. Just make the move.
Say that.
Listen, if you're gonna make, let me put it this way to you. If you're gonna make the move at week 4 or week 5, make it at freaking week 3, anyways, bro.
Yeah, I hear you.
Now if you're gonna wait till week 7 or week 8, okay, let's talk. I get what you're saying. You're saying we're gonna ride him for the first half. And what's funny is, if you remember the reports coming out of training camp, I believe before the pads even came on, was how basically the word was Tua might start maybe in December, remember? Now, I believe it was Armando Salguero reported it might have gone from sometime later in the season to anytime right now.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it looks that way. You can see how Flores is, kind of indirect in his praise of Tua. But it seems like every time they're interviewing him now, something extremely positive comes up about him from Flores. So,
what do you think about what Miami Flow Football says? They should play him on 1 to 2 series at least this Sunday.
Well, again, if his arm is bothering him, you have to go to Tua, bro. Obviously, Tua, if you're having physical issues with his arm, Tua, obviously, no matter where he is mentally, he gives you the best chance to win. Because at the end of the day, it comes down, can you physically do your job? And if he's having issues, no, I wouldn't even start Fitz. I would rest. I would start Tua. I would quickly transition to Tua Tagovailoa, because he just can't. He just can't get it done physically, and it happens. He's 38 years old. It happened. Father Time is undefeated. So, I don't know. I can't confirm this. This
is just
I don't
what
have
we're
any
seeing,
kind of sources
guys.
that has confirmed this report. I'm just saying what I saw on tape last week.
Yeah, we're just talking about how Omar talked about it in the offseason, in the training camp, and from what we saw watching the game numerous times, we noticed it. We noticed it after the first watch.
I'm with you though. If his arm is causing him issues and he's turning the ball over, bro, no, you don't hesitate. You quickly move off of him if the objective is to win this year. If you're just kind of lollygagging along the first half season to get Tua as healthy as possible and complete his acclimation process, until week 8, 9, well, that's okay. We'll do that. But if the objective is to win, and you got a 38-year-old quarterback that can't do his job physically, there's no way in the world you hesitate. There's nothing to talk about. You quickly transition and you move on.
And it's not like, we got a guy like Drew Brees who really can't make those deep throws, but he has flawless mechanics otherwise. He has Sean Payton, and he has, Pete Carmichael, the offensive coordinator. We don't have that, right? So, we don't have an offense that manufactures crazy space over the intermediate level, and then it's get the balls in these guys' hands and then just go. We don't have that. We don't have that luxury right now. So, the fact, especially if we want to go heavy RPO, especially if we want to, add in the play action aspect of this game, and that's why me and you keep stressing establish run like people see tonight. What do you want to do, bro? What you want to do is, run, throw, run, throw, run, come back on a first down, play action, try them over the top. And you're not going to be able to try them over the top with a guy who's pushing the ball and not throwing the ball, bro. And it's one thing to push the ball up the field like you say you want a quarterback to do. It's another thing to push the ball when you throw. You know what I mean? So,
and one thing Tua will bring is just his presence alone. Tua, with his ability, with his arm, his accuracy, arm strength, arm talent in general, Tua will force teams to defend every blade of grass on the field at all three levels. If you have a quarterback that's struggling with arm fatigue, the field condenses, and that makes it even. And especially if you can't run the football.
Tight windows, that could become. But here's the thing. That's the thing. At certain times, and this is why we said, at certain times, it looked like he's pushing the ball. And then you look at some of those tight window throws he made. They were, and some more beauties on Sunday. So it was like hit or miss with his arm, bro.
Yeah. But I'm still riding with Fitz for Sunday, but I will be paying attention to his arm because, man, you just can't. If you can't do your job physically, you can't do your job. And at the end of the day, I get the mental aspect of football and whatnot, but you still have to be physically, no matter what position you play, physically to do your job. And if you can't do that, you need to be on the sideline watching, carrying the clipboard.
They said he was a placeholder. Maybe he was a placeholder for only a few games and not as long as we thought, bro. Jesus.
And again, reason he threw the ball 30 times last week.
He completed 66.7%.
And what do we say at the beginning of the year? I wanted him 15 to 25 max is what I wanted him this year.
I said 18 to 22.
15 to 25 max. And
you're throwing the ball with 30 times Ryan Fitzpatrick, you're probably not winning many games because you're already in the position of throwing it that many times with him, bro.
Yeah, so
you want to control with a 38-year-old, 37-year-old Fitzpatrick, you want to control the game. You don't want to be playing from behind. And if you are from behind, you want it to be under double digits, man. You know what I mean? You're trying to get one score.
And now Fitzpatrick, that's why I was so adamant about the establishment of a running game was because of that. Because we saw at times last year his arm coming and going, but that's because we were in a position where we had to throw the ball 30 plus times every game just to put points on the board. And I don't care what quarterback you are, you don't want to put any quarterback in that kind of situation. You know what I mean? That's not a recipe to it's not a formula for success, bro. It's just not in this league. So I'll be paying attention to him Sunday, what his arm looks like. But mentally and where he was, to wrap things up, mentally where he was Sunday, I thought he played an okay game. I just wished where I'm critical of him is I just think he should have leaned more on his improvisational skills and opted to make plays with his legs because the plays were presenting themselves. There were several chunk plays he could have made that could have sustained drives and could have, potentially helped us put points on the board in that game last year.
And here's another thing.
Week.
Here's another thing on that second interception, the one that was his fault. If he, it looks like he assumed Adrian Phillips wasn't going to drop back into coverage or that far back into coverage. And if he didn't keep his eyes locked, Adrian Phillips wouldn't have been able to cut underneath, because I think Adrian Phillips just covered. He dropped back into coverage, but he dropped back into coverage to the more inside route. I forget who was running it, but then he noticed Fitz's eyes, and then he cut over. And I don't think Fitz thought he was going to be able to drop back into coverage and undercut the route. He just watched the eyes, bro.
He got lazy. He stared him down. He got lazy and he stared him down. Yeah. It happens.
And he got killed for assuming that Adrian Phillips wasn't going to be able to come back into coverage and get underneath that route. So let's go over you can't, man. Because you know what? That's a mistake that Tua probably would have made. I'm being honest, bro. Tua probably would have made that same throw. There's a high chance. A lot of rookies probably would have made that throw. That was great. That was a great disguise, bro. And great athleticism by Adrian Phillips. All right, so here's the injury report. So the Miami Dolphins, let's go over them. So we got Clayton Fledglam. He is doubtful. Jakeem Grant, he's good to go. Xavier, good to go. Byron, still with that Achilles that we've noticed since the end of training camp. He's good to go. Devontae Parker is questionable, but it did sound like today he will probably be going, hopefully. Landon Roberts, and I want to talk about this for a second. We'll get back to it actually before we do the rest of the Dolphins. I want to come back and I want to talk about that specifically. Kyle Van Noy is ready to go, and Preston Williams is ready to go. Okay, Landon Roberts. One thing I noticed, my friend, and I'm sure you might have noticed it well, at least with filling gaps, taking on blocks, and shedding them and playing better in traffic, Kamu Grugier-Hill was far better when he came in for Landon Roberts. Did you not notice that?
Yeah, I agree.
And let me
definitely agree with that.
Okay, yeah, actually, I'll save what I was going to say, the follow-up. Give me your thoughts on what you saw from Kamu Grugier-Hill, because I actually did think it was an improvement when he came in, because even when Jerome Baker was over pursuing, Kamu Grugier-Hill looked to be making the right reads for the most part.
Right. And I saw that several times when I went back and watched the game. I saw that what I saw from Grugier-Hill was that he was more decisive more than anything. It's like he understood his he understood his role,
and he wasn't afraid to take on blocks.
And he wasn't right. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't afraid to engage. And but yeah, man, he didn't. When New England was killing us and threatening us with that RPO, he looked more disciplined in terms with his eyes. You know what I mean? And so obviously he's the better athlete of the three linebackers that we're talking about. So I definitely I'm looking forward to see, because obviously he's going to get a bigger role. He'll probably be starting Sunday now that Landon Roberts is out. So he's a player that I will be highlighting. I will be paying a close attention to, because I'm high on this kid's potential. We all know that. But yeah, it's still the interior of that run defense. Until something gets done about Jerome Baker, man. To quote the late great Joe Philbin again, this interior linebacking core is still gonna make me very queasy. So but I will be paying close attention to Mr. Kamu Grugier-Hill come Sunday.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him, because as we highlighted, when we acquired him, he is a Brian Flores guy. Brian Flores drafted him. So, and that's the one thing, and we'll get into it a little bit later, but bro, if you're going to keep Van Noy out on that edge, we'll talk about this in a sec. We'll talk about it in a second. We'll get into it. Hold on. When we get into the keys to victory, there's something I want to talk to you about. But okay, so let's go to the Buffalo Bills, and the linebacking core is an issue for them as well, my friend. So John Brown, full participation, he'll play. Vernon Butler, he'll play. Tyrel Dodson, he'll play. Tremaine Edwards will not play. He is out. Jake Fromm, who wants him to play? No one, not even in Buffalo. Jerry Hughes will play. Isaiah McKenzie will play. But again, Matt Milano is out. And then it looks like Deshaun Phillips will also be out too. So you got 3 hits to that linebacking core, my friend. And this is what I wanted to ask you. So let's be honest with ourselves. The guys who are consistently getting to this, let's talk about the run game and the pass game. The guys who are consistently getting to the second level in the run game, Matt Breida, Myles Gaskin, right? So they were consistently getting to the second level out of mainly 11-man personnel. If people remember, Howard was basically being run out of more of 12, 13, more of like 22 and 23 personnel, right? With 2 tight ends or a fullback and even 21s. But that 11 was strictly Breida Gaskin. So let me ask you this. When you got a guy who can get outside with his shiftiness, his quickness, and his speed like Breida, or he can go up the middle, and you got a guy like Myles Gaskin who looks like he's turning that great camp into what could be a very good regular season, potentially a breakout regular season for him, and compared to what he did last year, especially. You know, great vision. When the hole is there, he's finding it. When it isn't there, you know, he's making it. When it is there, but it's tight, he's making himself skinny when he's hitting it. Or he's got that athleticism and that speed where he can bounce it outside. You add in the 11-man personnel and the speed those guys have and their ability to get to that second level where it might be a nightmare for these guys. You add in the fact that Matt Breida, you can line him up on the line of scrimmage in 4 or 5 receiver sets, and you can run a drag route with Matt Breida. You know, you can go trips to the right, run a drag route with Matt Breida. You know, you can have Preston, hopefully if Devontae plays, you can have Preston in the middle, and you can have him coming over top of the slot. Then you can have Devontae coming the third stacked route as a post or skinny post, or you go full-blown post, and you run that, and all of a sudden you got a lot of bodies, you got a lot of traffic, you potentially have created a lot of confusion over the middle. You can even continue with, you know, sending just one guy over with a slant or a drag or a mesh in even 3 receiver sets, right? I guess second create a matchup. So is that because we made our keys to victory before this all came out? That second level, how exposed do you think they are, and how badly do you think we can expose them at the second level?
Oh, they're severely compromised. You look at Tremaine Edwards and Matt Milano. You know, I've been on the record saying that I think Tremaine Edwards, he has the ability to be the best linebacker in the entire AFC. And with Matt Milano as well, they're 2 of the more athletic guys that you will see at that position in the AFC. So with these 2 players out, that severely compromises what they want to do at that second level. You know, they're a base 4-3 team. Base 4-3, you know, they're a base 4-3 team, but they take a zone-based approach in terms of their application of coverage, but which would bode well for us, but we'll get to that shortly. But it compromises everything they want to do, man. Everything, because even in our power, when we opt to not necessarily the 11 personnel, that's going to cause issues as well, because in 11 personnel, whether you opt to pass or run, again, because of the lack, you know, because of the lack of presence of Tremaine Edwards, you know, being able to cover, you know, running backs out of the backfield, you know, that's going to keep their defense in terms of how they scheme us off balance. Because if you have Breida back there, you know what I mean, and then you have him, you know, and you know, when we're in a pass, you know, we're in 11 personnel and we opt to pass out of that formation, you know, the angle routes, wheel routes, whomever they have out there at linebacker, I don't even know who it is. Obviously, probably their 3rd and 4th, you know, guys on their depth chart. It's gonna be a huge problem. Now, I want to see from our perspective is a commitment to that. And that's one thing I'll be looking forward to as well, is how Chan Gailey schemes, how he schemes this game, especially with the absence of these two athletic linebackers. So that's gonna, with these two linebackers out of the game, that's compromises everything they want to do up front. And I think that even when we opt to go to power packages as well, that's going to be an issue, because again, you're talking about the third, fourth linebacker on their depth chart. You know what I mean? In theory, on paper, before we play the game, we're talking about the potential matchup.
Justin says I'd run dive wham all day, add in some ISO, and just
absolutely,
give it up the middle, man.
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying.
Give him some leads. There you go. Let's go.
Exactly. I'm testing up. If I'm Chan Gailey, I'm testing those replacement players immediately. And again, it should be a huge advantage on paper initially. We won't know that until till kickoff. But I'm taking that approach early, and hopefully we can have a high level of success early on, and we can play action off of that, because I think, like I said, they're a base 4-3 team, and they're more zone. They implement more zone. They do man schemes. If we can provide protection in the passing game, the same protection that fits.
We'll get into that.
Okay. But it should be.
Y'all, Daniel Ashford, y'all sound crazy saying a guy like Baker had a great game. Our front need to play the part that we spend money and draft picks on, bro. Dog, Daniel, hold on. Daniel, you need to go back. You go to watch our PFF episode. You go watch back our post game, bro. Literally everything we highlighted on our post game, the analytics backed up everything we said, and we've got people in here, including Justin's Pro Football Scouting Analysis, who's got access to that all 22, that beautiful all 22. And we've all seen Jerome Baker terrible with his read recognition and diagnosing in the RPO, especially consistently over pursuing, consistently getting held up at the second level. And all those tackles that you want to rave about, my friend, go watch the film. You got 16, about 12, 13 of those. They're running the ball right at him because they're holding him up at 6-7 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and the running back's already gained that, and then he just has to shed backward off his block. Here's the thing with Jerome Baker, and this is what the film will tell you this year, last year, every year. Can't shed off blocks. Okay? He doesn't play well in traffic, and his read and recognition skills are poor. Why? He's not a Mike. He's not a Mike. He's not a Mike.
Horrible.
That's it, man.
Horrible.
So we've watched this game 3 times. I've seen some of the all-22. Justin's seen some of the all-22. EM's seen some of the all-22. It ain't a good look. That's why Jerome Baker and Landon Roberts were by far our worst graded defenders this week. Yeah, your boy had over 80 in grade in tackling, but he was poor in everything else. And he had like a 39 overall grade. It's a 40 grade. He was awful.
And how impactful, I mean, really, how they gained
Christian Wilkins. You want to talk about a defender who played a game on the front 7? Christian Wilkins was our best and like I said on the post game, I'll say now, if they didn't get gashed for 217 yards, and a lot of that was on Jerome and Landon Roberts, Christian Wilkins would have got my game ball. And let me ask you this: what good is a guy 16 tackles and the receivers already gained 3/4 of the first down?
I know. It's ridiculous.
Give me a tackle at the line of scrimmage. Give me tackles for losses. Tackles for 2 or 3 yard gains. You know how many times they sent Tooney from the left guard all the way over to the outside of the right tackle and sealed him off? We showed one play on here. How many times they did that to Jerome? Jerome was not a factor. There was maybe 2 plays where he got the better of the offensive line. Maybe 2 or 3 plays where he got the better of the offensive line. Other than that, he was just not very good, man, especially in the RPO. His reading and recognition, bro, I would be moving that guy out of a mic so fast. I would be saying, you better give me something that will, or we got to talk, my friend.
I don't know why, This Jerome Baker conversation is very exhausting for me. I'm done talking about Jerome Baker. I'm gonna let
Buddy,
the film do the talking.
Jerome Baker couldn't even get a pass breakup on Ryan Izzo and had some of the worst blown coverage I've ever seen. I didn't know whether Jerome Baker was in pass coverage or whether he was walking to the sideline to go get a bottle of Gatorade because he's dehydrated. Yet Christian Wilkins, that behemoth of a man, can get a pass breakup against Ryan Izzo. Somebody explain that to me, bro.
Listen, I'm gonna let Jerome Baker's film do all the talking from here on out.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't disagree. We've highlighted how well Brandon Jones played. Brandon Jones played well in the box and in the slot. Like I told y'all, the film told me was his strengths at Texas when I watched it after we drafted him. But Christian Wilkins was our best player.
Absolutely.
He was one of the few. He was like, you could make the argument that he was the only guy making plays in the run game, bro.
Yeah. He was dominant. He was physically dominant at times. I mean, I think the only reason why we didn't see the same impact in the second half because of fatigue. Yeah. You know what I mean? They, all of those guys were gassed. So yeah, he looked very good, especially early on. He looked dominant at times. So that's very encouraging. Again, that's my breakout player of the year. So he's right on schedule, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's Godchaw was inconsistent as usual. Raekwon was being consistently put on his behind. Ogba, when he was on the interior, was out-muscled. And then all you got is Christian Wilkins holding his own. And then you got the second level of a Landon Roberts, and Jerome Baker is disaster incorporated. And that's your 217 yards right there. When you got only one guy between your front seven that's consistently making plays, what else do you expect? I'm surprised they didn't put up 250.
Yeah.
We even highlighted Kyle Van Noy on Newton keepers, on that one Newton keeper where they ended up challenging and it went 4th and inches and they converted anyways. But he could have stopped him for 4th and 3, for a 4th and 4, but he missed the tackle.
Yeah. I'm going to let Jerome Baker's tape do the talking from here on out.
Oh, and
this is exhausting for me, bro.
You best believe it's about to do some talking.
I learned my lesson with Josh Rosen. I'm going to let his tape do all the talking, bro.
Yes, sir. Okay, so let's get into some things we've highlighted. We'll start off, that all being said, we'll start off with our defensive keys to victory here, bro. So, key number 1, contain Josh Allen's athleticism. Don't let him kill you outside the pocket, whether on the run or throwing on the run, even though, you can let him throw on the run if you want. After I saw that, when I went back and watched that game and I saw him miss John Brown wide open in the end zone, I literally laughed to myself, bro. So we got contain Josh Allen's athleticism. You got a guy who in 4 career games, he has about 317 yards. And I think it's 3 or 4 touchdowns as well on the ground against us. Number 2, by containing Josh Allen's athleticism, make Josh Allen beat you from the pocket. We just talked about it. He missed a wide open John Brown in the end zone. And that was, everyone's saying that was his first ever 300-yard game. I don't think he can beat our secondary from the pocket. Now, the Jets, because someone might say, well, the Jets did that, but the Jets, their best corner is their slot corner, Brian Poole. What else they got? The Jets are a depleted secondary. They're nothing. They're not this secondary. So, make him beat us from the pocket. I think, we're going to find a lot of success if we do that. And this is what I wanted to say to you with the contain Josh Allen's athleticism. We're talking about Kamu Hill. Is it that far-fetched of an idea to make him spy him majority of the game? I know Jerome Baker, everyone will say, oh, he's a little faster, athleticism. But my problem with Jerome Baker is I'm not going to have a spy who's not good at read and recognition and diagnosing, bro.
But the point is, Jerome Baker's not faster than Kamu Hill.
No, people will say that people are going to try and I agree with you, but people are going to say, they're going to talk about, and I agree that Kamu Hill's the better athlete as well, But you know damn well people are going to say Jerome Baker's a better athlete, bro. Okay?
Look,
so cover that. You know they're going to say it, bro.
Yeah, this is true, unfortunately.
So not only did we know Kamu Grugier-Hill is a better athlete, but from what we saw on the tape, he was diagnosing way better in that RPO game.
He looked more comfortable than Landon Roberts and Jerome Baker in that role.
Okay. So if you're going to spy the whole game, are you with me? Is it Kamu Grugier-Hill?
Well, it could be, Brandon Jones.
You could, yeah, but you could kick even Van Noy to the middle, but then you lose that presence off the edge.
Well,
or here, let me hit you with another name. Andrew Van Ginkel, a guy who we noticed really struggled on the edge and who we've highlighted multiple times. Some of his best plays last year came from playing the interior. And that's another athletic guy. That's another Wisconsin guy who, just like Vince Beagle, basically played everywhere along that linebacker core, just like our man crush Zach Bond. So is that another option?
Yeah. I will say this about our linebacking core. There's a ton of athleticism there. Whether you're talking about as critical as I am about Jerome Baker, he is one of the more athletic players at his position. Kamu Grugier-Hill. You have, even Brandon Jones playing that nickel and dime linebacker position down in the box. Van Ginkel is another one. Very athletic player. I think he has the speed and the lateral movement to mirror him and, keep him somewhat confined. If they opt to spy him with Van Ginkel, he has that skill set as well. So, we have that luxury, but I'm not necessarily, the issue the Dolphins have first and foremost, again, it's exactly the same what the issue they had last week. They need to shut and suffocate the Buffalo Bills' run game. That needs to be the primary objective.
Key three is the running back and duo, but continue on.
They need to totally commit to sell out under any circumstances. You will not run the football on a Sunday, no matter. And that's schematically, formationally, personnel group wise. You need to figure something out and to the point where they're not controlling pace, they're not controlling the clock, they're not having 5, 6, 7, 8 more possessions that our offense does. Whatever you have to do that, Brian Flores, Josh Boyer, you need to do that. Absolutely, that needs to be the approach and the focus primarily. Now, Josh Allen will be second in terms of keeping him confined in a pocket. That goes along with suffocating that run game, because if you're pushing, making their offense one-dimensional, and they're consistently in third and long situations, well, then you can opt to get into your your nickel dime packages, your more unconventional personnel groupings, and you can have a defensive back on the field that can definitely has that ability to mirror and keep him confined within the pocket, so to speak, and force him to beat you, to beat us, to be consistent, accurate with the football. You can do that. But again, same approach, like I said last week against the New England Patriots. This is a run-heavy team. When they went against the Jets last week, they spent a lot of their personnel in 12 personnel packages last week against the New York Jets. So I'm sure they saw the tape, the New England tape from last week. So it's not rocket science. It don't take much to figure out what their approach is going to be this week. Josh Allen, athletic profile wise, is very similar to Cam Newton. He might even be a more athletic version of Cam Newton at this stage of their careers. So, that needs to be the focus, the primary focus this week.
Yeah, and he has a bigger arm. I would agree with you. He's more athletic, and he clearly has a bigger arm. Yeah, because they ran the Bill. Did you know the Bills ran a league high of 25% of their snaps out of 4 wide receiver sets last week?
4 wide? Did they really?
Yeah. And here's another interesting stat. The most snaps from rookies in week 1, 232 from the Jaguars and 224 from the Miami Dolphins.
They were more diverse than what I thought in their approach then.
Mhm. And you look at their offense. You just talked about. You just highlighted. The 12-man personnel, right? So Dawson Knox had a total of 56 snaps last week. Tyler Kroft had 4, and Reggie Gilliam had 1. So, they were, that's 61 snaps. And their offense is basically based on getting Stephon Diggs, John Brown, Cole Beasley, Dawson Knox into space, winning one-on-one battles, and then seeing if Josh Allen can hit them when they get open. It's going to be interesting to see what Josh Boyer schemes up, because another thing that interested me, and I went back and I watched the game, was they really didn't have to unleash a Zach Moss or Devin Singletary, right? They were moving the ball no problem. So if I look at what killed us, right, that running back committee, that rotation, they had I mixed in with Cam Newton. We might get a bit of a steady dosage of Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, and then obviously some quarterback keepers options sprinkled in and stuff like that. So,
definitely. If going off the tape from last week, I mean, if Sean McDermott doesn't come out, and that's, if that's not his initial approach, I mean, man, we're clearly last 32nd in the league in run defense right now.
Yeah.
So
number 1 in pass defense, baby.
Yeah. So I'm for, again, that should be, I fully anticipate that be their approach early on until we can force them to alter their approach. And we'll see, man. Hopefully we're much better and sound and more disciplined up front than we were last week.
So our offensive keys to victory, bro. Establish the run, something they couldn't do last week. Protect the football, something, again, we didn't do last week. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, due to the fact that they're basically a zone scheme defense. Pass protection, because if you hold up and give time, you're going to be able to find those gaps and seams in the zone coverage. So what are your thoughts on the offensive keys to victory, bro?
Yeah, I agree 100%. Obviously, I think, I talk about this year being, it was all about, establishing that run game. If we can do that, I felt like we had a good chance to have a very good record overall. Balance is the key. And, when you're, if we establish the run, that's a good step in the right direction in terms of establishing that balance. Obviously, we can't have turnovers. If it's whomever, Tua, anybody, you can't turn the football over. We know how the NFL works. You turn the football over, you're undisciplined, you're not going to win very many football games. And I think in terms of our offense, passing offense, I think this will be an easier task. I think if Fitz benefits from the protection that we gave him last week, on paper and in theory, because of their approach in zone coverage, that should be, it should be more beneficial, I think, overall, because, we're forgetting, a lot of people are not taking into account again of, how good that secondary we saw last week in New England. I mean, it's arguably the best in the entire NFL. And, when you have guys that can cover, I've been consistent about this. When you have the cornerbacks that can cover consistently, man coverage is the more difficult coverage to make consistent plays in the passing game on. So if we can provide Fitz with the protection in the passing game that we gave him last week, I think that'll be, it'll be a much easier task Sunday. I don't necessarily see, I don't think you'll see the, obviously, well, I hope we don't see the, the turnovers that we saw last week, even though I don't credit Fitz with only one of them. But again, in theory and in initially, it should be an easier task. But, Jerry Hughes is playing. They've got Ed Oliver in the middle of that defense. So they've got a formidable defensive front. But I just feel like if we can, especially if we can establish the running game, we should be fine in this game. But if we for some reason we're not able to move the football consistently in the run game, I think if we can just if Fitz is he's more disciplined this week. We give him the protection. He's more disciplined this week, and Fitz leans more on his improvisational skills. I think we should be fine. We should be able to put enough points on the board to win this football game.
Yeah, because my thing here is it'll just add another layer to be able to create nightmare matchups for that second level. If you can establish the run, you can get that play action rolling.
Absolutely.
And whether you want to take it over the top and challenge the secondary or whether you want to kill them over the middle, play action is just another layer that we need because, like I said before, this is an offense right now with Fitz where if we're playing behind, we got to be playing behind by, one score under double digits. This isn't an offense that's built to get away from the run and try to come back from a 21-point deficit. Like if this game gets out of hand early, it could get bad because I don't think this team is built, especially when you got your number one receiver and the only one who, against that steady secondary, the only one who was making plays and creating consistent separation. If that guy's nursing a hammy, it's going to be Preston and Gesicki. It's time for you to step up like y'all didn't last week, right? And there's, let me say this to you, bro. There's no reason why, Preston and Gesicki, even if you go outside the linebacker, if you line up a Levi Wallace or Teron Johnson or Seren Neal, there's no reason they shouldn't feast all day against those guys.
I agree.
This isn't, J.C. Jackson, McCourty, they're better than what, Tre'Davious White does not have as good of a supporting cast as Stephon Gilmore does.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
there's no excuse, man.
Absolutely.
Especially when you look at, and when you look at that, the linebacking core added in with 2 down all the way to whatever on their corner depth chart, there's no reason we shouldn't be a mismatch fit for them, bro.
I agree. Yeah, man, I agree. I agree, man. I'm a little queasy right now. But again, I just think, bro, if we take that, I think it's all gonna come down to, stopping that run, bro. If we can get them, minimize them to maybe 100, 120 max. And Josh Allen is not killing us with that RPO, and he's not consistently making play, killing us with his improvisation. Because that's even now, even though I saw improvement from him in terms of him passing the football last week, the strength of his game is still improvisation. Mm-hmm. So you want to take that away, and you want to confine him and force him to beat us, to beat us with precision in the passing game. That's just where he is in terms of his development at this stage of his career. So it's going to come down to that run game. That, again, major concern for me coming into this year. And unfortunately, and this is going to be a reoccurring theme. This is going to be a reoccurring issue, in our pregame until we can get this issue resolved. You know what I mean? It's a glaring hole. Glaring. It'd be one thing if you're like, average, even, but oh man, 32nd again. I get it's one game, but wow, the issues I saw last week, a lot of it I think is correctable in terms of like, players being more disciplined with their eyes and identifying, reading, and recognition type issues. But a lot of it was just getting, with the exception of maybe Christian Wilkins, a lot of it was just out. They just, got their hands on guys and just, destroyed them, period. You know what I mean? I'm just keeping 100. And, I know Josh Boyer said 100% of the issues that occurred last week can be corrected. Well, what the hell else is a coach supposed to say? You know what I mean? So, again, man, it's an issue. It's an issue, major. And again, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what they do from a personnel group standpoint, from a schematic standpoint, what they do to remedy this situation as much as they can, because nothing gets fixed 100% in 1 week. I don't care, unless you're Bill Belichick. He's the only coach I've ever seen do that. So, but again, like I said, I want to see from kickoff, I want to see them totally commit to sell out, to taking away their running game, Buffalo's running game this week.
Nico Kumo, the mod, shout out to Nico. He says Devontae should just play draw, should play just draw. Trey White just be a decoy. And Nico, why do you have a picture of a crying seal? I agree, because I was actually thinking about that. If I'm the coaching staff, I would be telling Devontae, listen, if you can go out there and run at 80%, just go out there and run routes. I won't target you, but I'll use you as a decoy to at least try and X out Tre'Davious White.
Well, a good defensive coordinator will snuff that out quick.
For sure. But then you start giving him little short routes and just use him as a possession receiver.
Yeah.
So you don't use him as a home run threat. I mean, you could do that, right? And then all of a sudden, now they're like, oh, crap, what do we do? Guys, as we continue on here, for the first time tonight, I want to tell y'all, smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. We started off this stream with 1,309 subscribers. Let's at least get to 1,310 by the beginning of the matchup on Sunday. So smash that like button, guys. Just help the channel out, guys. Just hit it. Just hit that thumbs up. Just let them know what's up. Say, YouTube, I like this video, what it is. So smash that like button. We're sitting at 54, and we got about 80 in the room right now. If you'd like to donate to the channel, paypal.me/Phinside. And if you'd like to become a Phinside the NFL Patreon, patreon.com/Phinside the NFL. And as usual, shout out to our Patreons: Infinite Trauma, Rhino Sith, Fake Spike 94, Shake Money, Joe B, K All Day, Ramon Casillas, Seth, Mr. Two Bits, Miguel, Angel Hernandez, Slim Pickens, Ricketic, and Victor Scott Ramos. Shout out to all of y'all.
Absolutely.
Our Patreons. And use those levels, guys, man. You guys got those levels at your disposal. So let's keep it moving here, bro. Let's go to our matchup to watch. And we had a hard time deciding, so we went with both of them. Byron Jones and Xavier Howard versus Stephon Diggs and John Brown, because both Stephon Diggs and John Brown may get a healthy dosage of both these guys. This is our matchup to watch, Byron Jones and Xavier Howard. I know I joked around earlier about having the number one pass defense. Well, we do, but that's just because we were only tested like 20 times, literally. And we only allowed 155 yards, but they weren't testing us really. When you look at John Brown, even though I highlighted earlier that missed touchdown, John Brown still had a 100-plus yard performance. Stephon Diggs was a little bit of a disappointment, but John Brown had himself a day. What's your thoughts in terms of this matchup, bro?
This is the matchup. I know I talked about what the priority is. We all know what the priority is. Is obviously stopping the running game, but this is definitely in terms of matchups to watch. In terms of priority, this is definitely number two, because we didn't get tested much last week, but I can guarantee you they're gonna put the ball up at a lot more than what New England did last year, because of the presence of these two wide receivers. You got two of the better wide receivers in the National Football League going up against two of the better corners in the National Football League, and this is going to be a fun matchup, very entertaining matchup to watch. Hopefully, Xavier Howard, I'm pretty sure he's 100%. But Byron Jones at Achilles, even though he's going to be a go on Sunday, I'm assuming he'll still be on a pitch count. So I fully anticipate Noah Igbenogany getting in this matchup as well for stretches during the game. So we're going to get a test to see where exactly he is. You know what I mean? So that's going to be very fun entertaining to watch. But yeah, this is the big matchup, man. This is a big boy. This is a Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis type fight. Definitely. And for the better players at their respective positions in the National Football League. But again, it just comes down, can Josh Allen be precise? Whether he can be accurate enough to make consistent plays. I don't think he can do it. He hasn't been able to do it. He hasn't shown us that he can do it since he's been in the National Football League. I know we saw improvement last week, but that's the Jets. They got arguably one of the maybe the worst secondary in the entire NFL. So, even though he has these two weapons on the outside, I'm still going to take the approach to try to force him to beat me with precision, to beat me with accuracy, to beat me with, I'm going to force him to be sound in his mechanics, sound in his delivery. He's going to have to beat me with timing. And these are all areas of his game that he's consistently struggled with. So we'll see how this unfolds. But yeah, this is definitely a huge matchup to pay close attention to. And I know I will be on Sunday.
Yeah, because Nico's got a good question. Do you think Nick Needham sees some more snaps, even though we were running all that dime, all that nickel heavy personnel?
Well, it just depends, man. I think if they can, minimize them on first and second down and force them in third and long type situations. Man, I don't know what's going on with Nick Needham, bro, because we ran a lot of nickel and dime last week, to be honest with you. And a lot of how we got hurt in terms of the run game was through when we were in those, when we deployed those personnel, those formations. So, I mean, I don't know why they opted to go with Igbenogany over Nick Needham, especially considering we heard Nick Needham had the best camp out of pretty much out of all of our boundary players. So
in the last 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, and in addition to what he put on film last year. So I don't know what's going on there. I have no clue. I don't know why he got such. He didn't even play a snap last week.
Yeah.
So it's not that we needed him though. Really, to be honest with you, we didn't really need him last week. But in terms of coverage, because we didn't get tested much in that phase of the game. But I don't know, man. That's a good question. I would like to see Needham. We all know how I feel about him as a player, how I feel about his skill set. I would like to see him. I would like to see all four of them on the field at times. But you can't get into those kind of situations until you focus on in minimizing their running game because, but yeah, I would like to see him. But that's a good question. I don't know, man. I have no clue.
Yeah, because we got a heavy dose of Jamal Perry, right? And he kind of struggled at times.
Yep, Jamal Perry too, yeah.
And he kind of struggled at times, bro. So, right? He wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
You opt to go with Jamal Perry with Nick Needham? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Could be, I don't know if we should talk about that publicly, but I don't know, man. It's definitely worth paying attention to, though. I'll say that.
No, I agree, bro. So let's get into some things here, bro. Before we wrap it up, let's get into our predictions, bro. So let's do the point spread first, actually. All right, before we come back around. So last week, guys, if you remember, we got 2-1. We got the Seattle game right. What other game we got right? We got the
Arizona Cardinals.
Arizona Cardinals, right? And the one we whiffed on was the Buccaneers. So here's our 3-point spread pick'ems for this week. Number one, we're taking Denver, and this is again with FanDuel's current spreads. We're taking Denver at plus 7.5 at Pittsburgh right now. EM, you think it's going to be a closer game than what they're getting credit for, right?
Yeah, I do, man. I liked a lot, even though they lost last week to Tennessee. Excuse me, man. I liked a lot. I saw a lot that I liked from Denver. In particular, Drew Lock. I thought he played well. Second year player. But they had players out, in their wide receiving core. Jerry Jeudy looked. I love what I saw from Jerry Jeudy, even though, he had a couple drops in that game. But in terms of his skill level, every route on a route tree is at this kid's disposal. And that's rare to see from a rookie coming into the National Football League. So that'll give you somewhat of indication how special he is in that aspect of his game. And you saw the speed, you saw the quick transitions, you saw the ability to sell the route stem. It was just, man, it's impressive to see. We all knew that from Jeudy, though. What he consistently put on tape at Alabama. But their offensive line, they have a good offensive line. They have a very good running back field, a very good running back room, and their defense, I think, is a lot better than what people give it credit to. So give it credit for. So I think since they're playing in Pittsburgh, they obviously have the home field advantage, even though without. I'm still giving them the benefit of the doubt, even there won't be any fans in the stands. But I think the game is going to be a lot closer than what people think. I think Ben Roethlisberger, even though they beat the Giants last week, I think Ben is showing a little of his age, bro, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree.
But Pittsburgh still has that dynamic defense. They still got those dynamic pass rushers. They've got, I know this is going to hurt a lot of people, but forgive me, they still got Minka Fitzpatrick. And you've got one of the better defenses in the league. Top 5 all day.
TJ Watt.
Yep. So I think they'll win the game, but I think it's going to be closer to what people think.
Agreed, man. I agree with you wholeheartedly, especially if a Courtland Sutton comes back, who potentially could this weekend. So Minnesota, Indianapolis is favored by 3. I made this pick. I hope you come along with it. I'm taking Minnesota all day. I think that defense, another week of that defense being a little bit better. I don't think, obviously, Phillip Rivers is anywhere near on an Aaron Rodgers level, so I don't think Minnesota is going to have as big of an issue. Indianapolis, how many snaps are they going to give between Hines and Taylor? Because Marlon Mack is done for the season. So I'm taking Minnesota. I don't care if it's in Indy. Give me Minnesota by 3. As the underdog plus 3 for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on this one, bro. And it just basically boils down to, I just think Kirk Cousins is a much better player at this point in his career than what Phillip Rivers is at his career. At this point, they've got. They still have Adam Thielen. You know what I mean? They got Rudolph. They still got They've still got man, I lost my train of thought for a minute. Dalvin Cook. They still got Dalvin Cook. So, I like Minnesota. I know they got roughed up a little bit last week. Aaron Rodgers, he was just, they lost. And I understand, but Aaron Rodgers
Tuesday too.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers just looked superhuman Sunday. You know what I mean? He just looked out of this world Sunday. And it took that kind of performance to beat them. And but they lost, but I think Minnesota's better than what they showed Sunday. And obviously Phillip Rivers is not Aaron Rodgers and never has been anywhere close to the player that Aaron Rodgers is. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Minnesota, man. Just boils down to quarterback play.
Agreed, man. And our last one, Give us the line. Seattle is favored by 4. New England on the road. I said this after we lost New England. New England ain't going to be running that RPO and killing teams out the gate like they did in Gashin for 217 yards. It was good for the first week because even though we all expected it, apparently teams in the NFL didn't expect it. Now that they know what they can expect, yeah, man, I think this is a team that, that linebacking core, KJ Wright, Bobby Wagner, they ain't falling for that bull BS. So, yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. That offense, much more dynamic than what we were able to throw at them. Russell Wilson had a great game on last Sunday. You got DK, you got Tyler Lockett, Greg Olsen scored a touchdown. You obviously got Chris Carson. Yeah, they got a lot that they can throw the Patriots' way. So, even Bill Belichick this week, he said that not only is Russell Wilson one of the most underrated players, he might be the best player at his position.
I would agree 100%. I give the nod to Patrick Mahomes in that regard because he's the
I agree with that.
They won the Super Bowl. He's the Super Bowl MVP, so you have to give him that respect. But Russell Wilson is not far behind him. Yeah, I agree. This player, he's as good as it gets, man. His ability now, what makes him so tough now is that he's complete in terms of playing that position from the pocket now. And now his improvisation is a secondary weapon to him. So now what you have with him as a player, teams are forced to scheme him and to scheme for the structure of their offense. And once whatever he's looking at is not there, that's when he's coming and killing you, extending plays, extending plays, making plays with his feet, and gashing teams, you know what I mean, in the passing game, off the play extension. It's like he's just indefensible as an individual player. Now they still have issues. I think their offensive line still has issues, but I think they're better in the run game now. They have a better running back committee now. They've got they're like 3 deep now, in my opinion. Very good running back. So I think they're Seattle top to bottom. Even I know their defense gave up a lot of yards last week, but I think Atlanta's going to expose a lot of teams, especially in the passing game with Stephen Ridley, the game he had last week, and obviously Julio Jones, Hayden Hurst, who they got from Baltimore in a trade, which I was like, I don't know why Miami didn't explore that option in terms of bringing him in.
They didn't give him a long time, bro.
I know. It's crazy to me. And I mean, he was just consistently making plays. So, but at the end of the day, I just think top to bottom, 1 through 53, they're the more talented team. They'll New England will be overwhelmed. Even the secondary they have, I think they can somewhat minimize what Seattle likes to do in the passing game, because you got Stephon Gilmore, you have that secondary as a whole. They're as advertised. We know how good they are, but I think at the end of the day, 1 through 53, Seattle is just a better team, and at the end of the day, Russell Wilson will make enough plays to carry them to victory Sunday.
Yeah, and something I wanted to, because someone just asked, MG Taxman asked, have you heard that Tua was throwing passes to Devontae Parker in practice? Is this accurate? So it is to a sense. So basically what happened was Devontae Parker wore a compression sleeve today around his upper left leg and participated in individual drills. In individual one-on-ones during the end zone drills, he did catch a few passes from Tua Tagovailoa. So he wasn't catching passes from Tua in 11-11s and full-blown scrimmage. Another thing I wanted to highlight, because this is a little bit of a rumor going around, and shout out to Jonathan Ayala, because, I mean, homie, I'm a big fan of what you're out there doing with your Instagram page, bro. It's absolutely fantastic. I'll give you a plug in a sec. Let me just finish my thought here. There's a rumor going around right now about Tua taking snaps from Ryan Fitzpatrick. That is not true, guys, in the slightest. Now, has your boy's snap in count increased a little bit? Yeah, they've given him a little bit more of a workload, but they have not. He has not affected. He has not affected Fitzpatrick's snap count. Your thoughts?
I agree. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is the first I've heard that, bro. I haven't, I've been so busy. I hadn't had a chance to really dig into social media much, like I should. But, I mean, I haven't. This is the first I've heard of this issue, man. So, him throwing passes to, Devontae Parker, and I mean, I don't know. I don't have any. I mean, I'm gonna lean on you on this one, homie.
Yeah, I just think, it's 11-11s. He's not even working out, really. He's just doing his thing, bro. There's really nothing much to read on to it in terms of Fitzpatrick, to his snap count getting increased. All they're doing is they're easing him. Because if you guys remember, guys, how many padded practices do they really have left in the season?
Mm-hmm.
After the midway point of the season, padded practices basically become non-existent. Am I correct or not, Em?
Yeah, you are. You are.
So obviously you're going to increase it just in case you got to go there.
Exactly. I agree. And again, like we talked privately, we could be seeing them transit if and again, the whole issue with Fitzpatrick's arm, if that is accurate, this is the smart play. I mean, you want to kind of, you want to speed that process up and get to as many reps, mental reps, physical reps, et cetera, as many as possible. Because like you said, in case, we have to go there sooner than we initially planned. So we'll see, man. But yeah, that's the first I've heard of him in terms of like passing, with, throwing passes and stuff like that with Devontae.
Oh, you hadn't heard it yet, eh?
No, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, that came out this morning. So, okay, so let's keep it rolling here then, bro. Let's go with our predictions, bro. So I'm going to stick to what I said preseason. I expected the Bills to win this. I'm taking Buffalo 27, Miami 20. I mean, I do think we're going to be able to get the run game going a little bit better than we did last week in terms of earlier on. I just do think on both sides of the football, they're a little bit deeper. The reason why I have us putting up 20 points because I thought we'd be in the lower teens, mid-teens, is because of their issues at linebacker right now. But I still do think Josh Allen and that run game might be a problem. And basically why I'm going with Buffalo is prove me wrong, Miami. Show me why I should believe that your run game will shut down your run defense will shut down the Buffalo Bills. Until I see that, I got to give Buffalo the edge in this, brother.
I hear you. And I understand why you would go there, why you feel the way that you do. But hey, man, I'm sticking to my guns as well. I got the Dolphins 24-17. Hoping, I am anticipating Brian Flores and Josh Boyer to come up, not make the same mistakes that they did last week. I think this is what I think their approach will be. They won't, like last week, I was highly critical of them. Why would they wait so long why would they wait to the third, fourth quarter to totally sell out, and commit resources to the line of scrimmage to take away the running game? I don't anticipate them waiting that long if the same issues are there early. I fully anticipate them, a total commitment, whether that be, again, personnel group wise, schematically, formationally, et cetera, to take away the running game, and that way he can't RPO off that running game. And I think that would be a commitment. They will force Josh Allen. They will confine him to the pocket, force him to be precise with the football, force him to beat us with accuracy, anticipation, force him to be sound with mechanics. Again, we highlighted all of these areas of his game that he struggled with since he's been in the National Football League. So I got the Dolphins 24-20. I think we'll be able to run the football, a lot easier than what we saw last week. So yeah, I think I'm gonna roll with the Dolphins, and 24-20. I'm sorry, 24-17. I'm sorry.
So Jazz 803 says I'm gonna say Bills 24, Dolphins 13. He does say hope we win though. Latrell Davin says 28-10 Buffalo Bills.
Oh man.
Rhino says overtime tie 17-17. I love it. Latrell says, to be honest, I was thinking 35-17. Jonathan Ayala says, I got the Finn. He says, and I believe, Jonathan, are you from the Finn's line? If you're from Finn's line, let me know because I love your stuff. I'm trying to make out your logo. He says, I got the Bills, and this one hurts to say. Aquavision says, Miami 24, Buffalo 21. So there you go. You got a friend, bro. Who do we got else here? Let me keep rolling through you guys. So, the great Fins fan, shout out to EM and Reason for content they provide. Love you guys. Appreciate you, man. We love you too, bro.
Appreciate you, homie.
Yo, we got an announcement coming on during our post-game show this Sunday. So y'all are going to want to keep tuned in for that post-game show anyways, but we're going to be announcing something. We'll save it until Sunday. I was going to announce it tonight, but we'll wait till then. We'll let everyone have their glory Sunday during the day for this week, but things may be changing, my friends. All right. Chris Solo says 17-13 Dolphins.
I like it.
Havoc says 24-20 Buffalo Bills.
You should be ashamed, young man. You should be ashamed of yourself. Havoc, did you secure that pre-order, bro? Well.
Don't even say it, bro. Okay?
I hope y'all were able to secure your pre-orders.
Bro, you already know what happened with me. Why are you out here doing that show?
Oh, man.
Your boy was 13th in line at my EB, which is our GameStop out here, and they only had 8. So your boy waited an hour till I got there at about 20-11, and they didn't open till 11, and I waited till about 11:30, 11:40, and they hit me with the, we don't have enough.
I feel bad for y'all, man.
Yes, sir. There it is. Yo, Jonathan Ayala, he says, yes, sir, I'm Finn's line. Was trying to watch some Dolphins content a few days ago. Came across your channel. Keep it up. Appreciate you, homie. Go follow.
Appreciate you, man.
Yo, y'all need to go follow this man on Instagram. He's one of the guys that I know we follow because, homie, we send your images, me and EM, back and forth. When we're not on Twitter, we send your images back and forth, basically to show each other what's good going on. So yo, go give him a follow. Does some great stuff up there, great images, man. And Jonathan, anyway, you want to work and cross promote, you already know, man. Our intro was done by Miami.
Shout out to you, homie.
So we got something in the work with Young Mayo. So we're down to work, my friend. So Antonio Greer says 27-3 Dolphins over the Bills.
I love it.
Justin Williams says 27-14. Havoc says Sony should be ashamed of themselves. Damian D says 24-16 Fins. And yes, smash that like button, guys. Let's get those likes up. We've hit the hour and a half mark, guys. We're going to be back a half hour after the game ends on Sunday. And I want y'all to tune in because things are going to be changing next week. So, guys, y'all already know what time it is. It's Fins Up all day, every day. We'll be back Sunday about a half hour, like I said, after the game ends. We'll give you that comprehensive analysis like no one else can, man. So, guys,
Absolutely.
we'll see you then. Until then, be happy, healthy, and safe. Fins up.